Hey everyone, welcome to day 4. This is week 48, and this is our New Year's resolution week, our painting resolutions for this year, and hopefully we intend to keep them and we intend to work towards them throughout the year. Again, small recap, Monday we were working on the weight of decision making. Tuesday, for Spanish Tuesday, Martes Español, we worked on tone, what we defined as tone. On Wednesday, yesterday, we worked on hierarchies. And today, we'll see how we're going to do with this new resolution we have set out for ourselves.
Okay, let's get started. This is Thursday. This is day 4 of our painting resolutions week. So the idea during this week is to try and find 5, because we're basically doing 5 paintings every single week. So it just fits into the idea of our painting exercises nicely. You can obviously just concentrate on a single aspect of your painting to work on during this year, or you can actually have a very extensive list of things that you want to concentrate on during this year. I would try to narrow them down because it's very, very difficult to try and first dissect a ton of aspects of painting that are particular to your own painting practice. And second, I think that the fewer things that you can choose and you can identify, then the easier it's going to be to actually concentrate on them and to put your whole attention to them. I am a painter that actually loves when a painting can speak with strength about a single thing. There are usually other elements in the painting, but a very strong painting usually tries to say one particular thing, and it tries to convey that message very powerfully. So even though it may be seen as something somewhat simplistic, I think that problems like these, trying to work on identifying elements in our own painting practice and then saying, okay, I'm weak at these, or I actually want to get a little bit better, or I think I love these aspects of my painting and I really, really want to put all the weight of my painting on top of them. I think that exercise is a little bit easier to do if you say, okay, what are the 3 key aspects of my work? Or in our case, during this week, what are 5 key aspects that you want to work on? So on Monday, just as a tiny, tiny recap, on Monday, we concentrated on the weight of decision making. The objective was to just tackle head on the very real issue that is problem solving. So instead of running away from instances of the painting that we know are going to be hard to resolve, the idea is to go straight at them, walk straight into this pit full of crocodiles and fight your way through it. That's what we want to do. And I noticed that was something that was very important for me to try and do because I've realize that I'm a painter that runs away from problems constantly, I would say. Whenever I'm encountering a painting where I'm insecure, when I feel that things are beyond my grasp, my initial response is just to kind of flutter through the painting and not really attempt to solve things, but rely upon some heavenly power just shining down on me and then showing me the way, and by some miraculous act, then believing that everything is going to be fine as long as I avoid it for as much as I can. So pro tip, that never works. On Tuesday, we defined it as tone, but it actually spoke about the empathy that there is between the materials we use to solve our paintings, the formal qualities that we employ when we're trying to solve our paintings, and the sentiment behind the painting, the intent behind the painting. So always reminding myself that those two have to be in constant communication and they have to empower each other. Yesterday, we concentrated on something that's kind of abstract but really fun and really cool to identify, which can basically be summarized as what is important to you. When you're looking at something, what is grabbing your attention? Where are you finding the peak of your interest? And the idea is to, again, identify those things and to make them visible in the painting. How do I make my priorities visible in a painting? How can that be materialized during the painting act? And I was saying, because I am sort of a simpleton painter, that easy ways for me are almost always the better way out. If I could do it simply, if I could do it succinctly, if I could do it with less, and it communicates with power, with efficacy, what I want to say, and it brings me closer to my intent, then I'm like, hell yeah, that's my choice. I'm always going to want to say it that way, because in my mind, saying it in a more complicated fashion just doesn't merit any glory. That doesn't merit any achievement. Just because you can tangle a problem in 1,000 different ways and in the end try to make it look like a beautiful knot doesn't mean that that's the way it should be done. I much rather just untangle everything and show this very simple, beautiful ribbon. I want to be challenged by my painting in the sense that I want to try and solve the problem that's behind the painting, but I don't want to make it more complicated. Sometimes we paint things as if they're more complicated than nature itself. And I've always thought that that's kind of absurd. Nature itself is highly complex. It's much more complex than anything that we will ever be capable of doing through a painting. So why make a mess of it? In my mind, in my experience, great painting is always very, very simple. So I think yesterday was just a reminder of finding hierarchies within my painting and exhibiting them in a very simple, straightforward fashion. Again, some people will think that that's a little too primary, that that's a bit too basic for a painting, but there's nothing wrong with basic, fundamental, easy, good painting. I think that that is the best painting. I love when I can look at a painting and I can identify everything that was done to make the painting. I can see all the gears turning. I can see all the parts. There's no weird colors. There's no weird brushstrokes. There's no weird paint layering. I can see everything super, super clearly. And when I notice that, I'm absolutely baffled and in awe, because all the things that I'm looking at, that I'm trying to discern, I identify. These are things that are familiar to me. And once I acknowledge that they are indeed familiar, then I say, wow, there's no secret to this painting. There's no secret to great art. It's just kind of understanding fundamentally how things work. And that will never, ever cease to amaze me. So to me, the mark of a genius painter is to take something that's absurdly complicated and then just executing it in a fashion that you feel, oh, that's it? That's all you had to do? And it just stumps you. It just leaves you aghast, because in our experience, maybe it was an unsurmountable problem, and then suddenly great painters, great minds, they solve these issues in such elegant, intelligent manners that, I don't know, it just shows us how far we are from these geniuses throughout art history. Yesterday, for example, I was thinking of that damn plate. That plate, that it's not about painting a plate, obviously. It's about painting an ellipses. When I was doing the ellipses of the mug, I was like, yeah, this is cake. I have no issue with this ellipses. I can actually see it. And perhaps because the other ellipses, the one in the plate, was actually hidden, and I have to kind of travel through the mug to understand the perspective of that ellipses, it gave me more trouble. And also, because that ellipses has a concentric ellipses, like a drawing of an ellipses on that plate, then that just makes everything worse. Because now you not only have to do one, but now you have to do the inner ellipses matching the perspective that you already have established with the outer ellipses. So it's two ellipses in one, which to me is like crushing my soul twice. That's what ellipses do to me. And obviously I was thinking, wow, this is such a simple thing, but and it's such a powerful, expressive tool that it's a shame that I'm so insecure about them and so afraid and so distrusting of my drawing ability that I'm like, oh my God, I'm already clenching my butt cheeks thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a tragedy once I start kind of trying to solve an ellipses, trying to find that drawing, and I know what's coming. It's going to be a terrible experience. But what always keeps me afloat is the fact that when I look at images that I really, really like, at painters that I really, really admire, that have done paintings where these elliptical shapes empower the painting, I always tell myself, come on, look at what genius painters can do when they put their ability and their discipline to work. And even though they could be just saucers and plates or cups, it doesn't matter. I mean, the subject matter can be the simplest of things, but they can be solved so elegantly. I was thinking about Vincent Desiderio, which produced probably one of my most favorite, let's call it still life paintings ever, but that dinner table up top is just so masterful. And I actually love this painting because there's nothing really strange about the painting. I'm guessing it's talking about the way we consume images, how they become the nutrients for our soul, our painter's soul. And in many ways, Desiderio is just putting all these books out, just saying, hey, this is me. These are some of the people that I respect. But the whole setup, the whole theatricality of the setup, it's just brilliant. Again, that table up top and the way the ellipses kind of prepare you to understand that you're hovering above this cornucopia of books, this boundless source of inspiration. It's just amazing. It's just brilliant. This is for sure one of my favorite contemporary paintings, and it's probably my favorite Desiderio painting. I really love this painting. Again, I think it's kind of cheeky because what you end up doing is just looking at a book and you're saying, oh, I recognize that painter. I know this. This is Manet, this is Picasso, this is Ingres. You could go through all these books just trying to identify very specific paintings. And the first time I saw it, it was like a game in my mind. So again, it's just kind of fun and cheeky. But other painters that I thought about, and I know I'm talking about ellipses. We were supposed to talk about resolutions, but this idea about the ellipses got me thinking about, how tough it is to just embrace, a situation where you have to push your drawing, where you really, really have to push your drawing, and how amazing the result can be if you're able to solve through your drawing those problems, and how much of a hell it can turn out to be if you get lost and you can't really tackle the responsibility of having to solve that drawing issue, which I think that was my case yesterday. So I can't get that thought out of my head. And thinking about ellipses, I thought about Giovanni Boldini, one of the greatest Italian painters ever. Boldini has some still lifes where he's just showing off. Honestly, he's just showing off. Boldini is just one of the most incredible draftspeople in art history, and it clearly shows. He's able to solve with just elegance. He turned elegance into fencing eventually. He almost made a caricature of elegance eventually with his painting style, with his painting manner. But it doesn't matter. Underneath, there's this giant of a draftsperson behind all these dancing brushstrokes. But when he was younger and he was doing like these, let's call them cleaner paintings, you could tell that there's this insane drawing ability in every one of his paintings. So, such confidence. It's brutal. But I think that one painting that exhibits something that I would really love to do in the future, and this is not something I'm working towards, I have to be honest, but I actually love this painting, and it's very strange because I don't really love all the work that this painter produced, but this particular painting, I think it's incredible, and some of the still lifes he did are really amazing. And I guess they're amazing in the sense that there's this beautiful reimagining of perspective. It's very medieval in a sense. It's very graphic, very flat. This is Ken Gregoire. He's a Dutch painter. Again, I don't really quite connect with a lot of the stuff he does, but I think this particular painting is just incredible. I love how that cup and that plate just seems to defy gravity because they should have fallen vertically in the image plane. I just love stuff like that. I just love when we can manipulate perspective in an image in a way that seems organic, that makes sense. So it's a very nonsensical image that makes absolute sense. It's completely irrational, but when you look at it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That reality, that version of reality, that reality that kind of stems from our own natural law is plausible. I hope that I give myself the leniency to do stuff like that in the future, because I would love to do things that push. It's almost like the way Egon Schiele solves perspective. I think that that's absolutely brilliant. So I apologize for all this rant that actually comes from thinking about ellipses. But that's what I had on my mind ever since I did that painting. So let's go back to resolution week. For today, it's going to be, again, a very simple theme, which is the ordinary. And what I mean by the ordinary is that, I feel pressure sometimes, and I guess it's self-imposed pressure. I don't really feel external pressure. I think my mind is at peace. Even when I recognize that other people may want for me to do other sorts of paintings, I think that I'm very, very quiet inside. And I don't have trouble saying all those options out there are wonderful, but I want to concentrate on this. And I think that for the last couple of years, I've become like a very, let's call it narrow-minded, but in a good way, intimist painter. Narrow-minded in the sense that my vision, I think, has closed. And I think that the manner in which I'm describing this would seem hindering for my own development. It would seem like I am choosing to leave behind a ton of wonderful different things, and I'm not really looking at the broadness of the universe or the broadness of possibilities. And in fact, it's none of those things. I am so aware of the bigness of the nature of things that I want to see all of those qualities, but in very small spaces. I think that I can identify all these powers that govern the universe, that govern our nature. I think I can see them in very, very small instances. So if I really feel that I can identify them in the small, in the part, I don't really have a need to expand my vision any further. I don't feel that responsibility. I don't feel that weight, that necessity. And if I'm being true to myself, if I don't feel that, there's no point in trying to just search farther and farther and farther away from home. I feel that my home is everything that I have close to me and everything that I hold dear. So I'm quite happy to stay there for a while. This is like my little nest. I'm okay here. Again, I'm not shielding myself. I'm not kind of scared of doing anything that would be seemingly more challenging. No, it's just that I have everything I need here. When I talk about the ordinary, I'm literally talking about finding an immense amount of pleasure in saying I can paint anything. And I'm not speaking about ability. I'm not saying that I have the capacity to paint just about anything. No. It's nothing like that. It's admitting to myself that if you gave me any object to paint, anything, think about the most boring object you've ever encountered and then gift it to me, I would probably have a blast painting it. And if you told me that that's the object that I have to paint for the rest of my life, if that was my quote-unquote punishment, I would think that that's amazing. I would never get bored of it. I would try to generate a strong bond with this object and a relationship, a very meaningful relationship with this object. And I'm absolutely certain, I want to believe this about myself, that I would never think of it as something boring. I would never think of it as saying, I'm tired of this thing. I want to believe that I would see a lifetime's worth of learning through this simple object. So if I believe those things about myself, then, just about anything will do. It's not about finding marvelous objects that seem to be interesting in and of themselves. No, again, I think that just about anything is a worthwhile platform to spark a conversation and exchange where you can grow from, where you can devote time to self-reflection. So I think today, when I refer to the ordinary, I think it's more about a mindset and about teaching myself that I don't need much to be excited about painting, to be thoroughly excited, like genuinely excited about painting. So this squeezed lemon, and I loved doing this painting because the lemon actually represents like a small percentage of the painting in terms of, real estate, let's call it. It's going to occupy a kind of small space in relationship to the rest of the composition. So to quantify it, it's about 10% at most of the composition. So now you have 90% of a composition that you have to solve, which has to behave as an atmosphere, but also have a secondary role in relationship to that lemon. And even though this is just a lemon on a metallic kitchen top, I took those elements as an excuse to suggest a space, a very abstract definition of space. And for some reason, it ended up being sort of kinetic. So this lemon, this very simple static object, is actually filled with energy. I actually, in my mind, I see it as traveling through space. It's almost as if it's being thrown into this, metaphysical orbit. So even though it's not at all intentional, and even though this is not at all obvious in the painting, when I looked at it in the end, I was like, oh my God, it looks like a Giorgio de Chirico painting. So again, there's some metaphysical power in this squeezed half lemon. So I had a blast. I feel that whenever I can encounter an opportunity to make something out of, oh my God, I was going to say if life gives you lemons, but no, let's not do that. That's terrible. But whenever I can identify an opportunity through painting, and I think that I can seize it and then just have fun with it, I think that that's amazing. Because yesterday's painting, I was really aware of how responsible I have to be with my drawing in order not to suffer through the depiction of an ellipses. And today's painting was all about just having fun with what I had in front of me. So that was a blast. So that's going to be it for today. This was Painting Resolutions number 4 for Thursday. And join us tomorrow, our last day in our Painting Resolutions week, where we'll find our last aspect of painting that we want to push this year. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.